Welcome to Inside Health, the highs and lows of being a dad. Shortly, I'm going to be joined by Kelvin Fletcher, where we tackle some of your taboos, answer some of your questions, and give the truth behind what it's like to be a dad. Kelvin, great to see you.
Great to see you again.
Welcome to the Quinn's Cafe. It's a very nice setting here, but we're here to talk about parenthood. You're a busy man, but recently just had twins. How was that working out for you?
A very busy man, and obviously a lot busier. I think the best way to describe it for me is surviving. I'm in survival mode. I'm in the trenches. As a family, it's overwhelming at times, and it's great. Don't get me wrong. And I'm sure in the future we'll look back and be envious of those chaotic, crazy times when everything's a little bit more settled and easier. But at the minute, it is absolutely, get ready for. It feels like war at times, in the kitchen at breakfast time. But no, it's great. It's fantastic. It's really enjoyable, but yeah, it's tough, I won't lie. Being a parent, I think, is the hardest thing you will ever do. It's the most challenging role, but weirdly, you have a gifted to play, and it's the most rewarding. And I think that's consistent. We have to keep reminding Liz, and she has to sometimes remind me when things do get hard, is that it is a blessing. It's an absolute gift to be a parent, and an extra special gift when you're the parent of twins and two more as well. So a family of 6 and 4 children. So it's important. It is hard at times, and every situation, every dynamic is different, is unique. What works for us as a family might not necessarily work for you and for other people. So it's just finding that balance, navigating, and as experienced parents, you'd like to think that we knew what we were doing now, but we're still learning, still on a journey of discovery, and I'm first to admit, probably still making mistakes along the way with how we parent at times, and so yeah, it's just an ever evolving learning curve.
Yeah, you said that you almost feel like a new parent again, especially when it's a new dynamic and scenario having twins. But the first time you became a father, what was that like for you? Because there's lots of people you can speak to, books you can read, but nothing can quite prepare for it, can it?
I always imagined my life, my future, being a father. That my when I get older, my role was going to be first and foremost as a father. I was hoping and praying that one day I'll have my own family, I'll have a wife and children, and that's all I could picture when I thought about the future. Yes, there's certain acting jobs and certain things I wanted to do in my career, but first and foremost it was a family, being a family man and having mini Kelvin and Kelvinettes running around wherever we are, and that's all I pictured. So I feel like in that sense I was prepared, foolishly, naively, I felt like I was prepared to be a parent, couldn't wait to be a parent. And then obviously when it happens, as you know, nothing can prepare you for parenthood. No amount of books, of YouTube videos, of forums, of classes, of listening to friends' advice can prepare you for what's about to be. And like I say, it's the hardest but yet most rewarding job I've ever had, and I think I ever will have.
One of those bits of advice that you get before you become a parent is get to sleep in whilst you can. But sleep deprivation, it's real. What's your relationship like with sleep, and how have you coped since having babies?
I don't mind my sleep. I've been known to sleep. I can sleep. If there's sleep to be had, I will have it. But that whole notion of banking your sleep, it's a myth.
It's a myth.
You can't. I wish you could.
Yes.
But you can't bank your sleep.
Yeah.
It just cannot be done. So
Get
when people
it in
are saying,
you can.
get it in while you can, while you've got chance.
What are you doing with it? Where's it going?
Where'd you store it? Where'd you put it?
I'd love to know, because I've needed to delve into it over the last
Can
year.
I have that 5 hours I had 6 months ago? Can I just dip in and have it now? I think sleep deprivation is a form of torture, and I think I'm averaging about 4 or 5 hours at the minute. And lying, I can't remember the last time I had a lie-in. Even at weekends, Saturday, Sunday, it's still 6, 7 o'clock.
Of course. Kids don't know it's the weekend.
Yeah, kids don't know. They don't
know
care.
it's Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And they actually don't care. They really don't. It's really tough, isn't it? Because I guess men have often been spoke about not having the ability to be able to share how they feel. And sometimes I've felt anyway, and I'm sure you might be the same, you have to internalise how you're feeling, because for fear of saying, I'm tired, I'm sore, I'm this, I've got stress at work or whatever, because of what the reaction might be. Unfortunately, we can't compare the separate roles and the different anxieties and physical and emotional different bits that we're all going through.
Yeah.
And it's so important to not compare them, but listen to one another as individuals, because if you're tired, that's that's fine, and that needs to be listened to as much as Liz, who's been up through the night and tired, because you being tired at work is just as valid as Liz being tired through the night.
It is.
But it's
You're
not.
right, it's not. But you're right.
And it's
You're
not just
right.
Liz. It's not just Liz. This is.
I think it's exactly like, because they shouldn't be a comparable, because you've got complete different set of circumstances, and the two can never really truly be compared. So I think you're right, to even attempt to try and compare that is I think is wrong. And it's that thing of just both accepting that, you know, it's hard for everyone at the minute, and sleep deprivation is one of the hardest things. And but you know what, that aside, there'll be pockets, there'll be moments. And at the times it does really feel like moments, you know, amongst a majority of tough times. You get that little smile, or you get that little cuddle, and it genuinely then makes it all worthwhile. And I think that's always, you know, really hard and important to remember, is to remind each other of those moments and reassure each other as well. You know, I think me and Liz, that's one good thing we are good about is kind of reassuring each other when each other is struggling. Is that, you know, we're in this together. It's a team effort, and we're both kind of doing it tough.
Yeah, absolutely. You're proud of being a dad, 4-time champ. Does life get easier, and what lessons have you learnt along the way?
Does life get easier? I certainly don't make the same mistakes. More often than not, I won't make the same mistakes twice with children. So I'm pretty good at nappy changing now. But as regards to getting better as a parent, I'd like to think I'm a better father. I'd like to think, there's one thing it has taught me now, a lot more, and third time lucky, is just be a little bit more present. You know, that's maybe what I wasn't doing initially, when I had all the time in the world with Marnie, to be present, because I had no work on. I chose that time to be absolutely with her and be with the family. And then as work and life gets in the way, and understandably reality kicks in, and there's certain things you've got to, you know, there's certain responsibilities you've got to go and, you know, go and do. It's so easy in this day and age to just be thinking of the future. You know, I'm very ambitious and very active, and my wife as well. And what it has taught me absolutely is a father of 4 now, is to be absolutely present. Any moment you can be is to be present, because, you know, my daughter's 6 now, and it feels literally like I was changing a nappy. You know, it feels like 2 minutes ago.
That's the bizarre thing about time, is the perception of time. Like, an hour is still an hour.
Yeah.
But an hour in the middle of the night feels very different to an hour in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And whilst you're in it, and you are just trying to survive, that time feels like it is dragging. But it's not until you look back and you think, wow, that went by so quick.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I had Phoenix and Ruby, Phoenix my first, I had 2 weeks off, then went back to work. Ruby, we had 3 weeks before COVID. I was at home for 6 or 7 months. And what felt like the norm for Phoenix, because I didn't know any different, it really challenges you, because you were talking about learning all the rest of it, and having that element of just trying to be present as a father. Like, that is something that is massively weighed on me. I can't go back and fix it with Phoenix. Had to get back and do work. That's just how the world designed for it to be for then. But for now, my word, those lessons of just being present, because they do grow up so fast, way quicker than how it feels when you're in it.
And I think it's easier said than done. You know, it's life does get in the way, and work commitments, whatever it might be. But I think, again, just prioritising when you can is children is first and foremost. All children want is your attention. Yeah. You know, no gift can ever out. It's just absolutely want you and you only. And whether that's walking in a park, wrestling in the bed, cuddling, or doing whatever, that's all they really, really crave. And I guess that should be reassuring for any parent who at times maybe can't give them what he or she thinks they need. You know, giving yourself is absolutely all you need to give, and that will always be enough. Yeah.
You said you had this paternal instinct before you had babies. I guess one of the other pressures of being a father is the financial responsibility. I know it's not the same for everyone, depending on who is the dominant person, but as a father of 4, family of 6, the emotional, physical and financial pressure on you. For other people out there, and we're going through a cost of living crisis, what would you say to those people who are trying to do everything they can do?
It is hard. I think, you feel like at times, certainly I do, you're pulled from so many different directions, so many commitments, responsibilities, and you're just trying to, again, find that balance. You know, what is the right balance? What is the right time to apply to certain things? And everyone's reality is different. I'm at times a bit of a workaholic. You know, Liz is always trying to remind me that can wait. Just be here, be now. You know, have tea with us. Let's all sit down together. And I have to kind of check myself sometimes because I'm already thinking of what needs to be done next. And ultimately, what I'm trying to do and achieve is for the better of our family.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily justify it in any way because all the kids, like I said, want is dad there, you know. So it is hard to find that balance, and every dynamic, every situation, every family will be different. But I think what is reassuring amongst the financial challenges that I guess we all face in some capacity, and to be your own person as well, I think that's important. As parents, we just so engrossed on being a parent and providing, whether that's going out to financially provide or just emotionally provide for your family, to be that rock, to be that whatever dynamic you play in that family setup. It's to be yourself as well. You know, it's for me to be Kelvin, not the husband, not the father, just for me to be me as well, because that's important. And I expect that and try and actively tell Liz and remind Liz. I sometimes think it's a little bit harder for the female to allow herself. It's so taxing being a mum, certainly at the minute with 4 children running around. Yeah. And I want to try and tell her to say, you know, you can just be you, be Liz. You don't have to be my wife, you have to be a mother, just be yourself. And that's why careers, I think, are quite important to still have that focus and that fulfillment in that sense. And hobbies and your own time, whether that's exercising, gym, whatever it might be, just to have that moment. And naturally will be a compromise. You know, I might have played golf once upon a time. To go and play golf for 4 hours once or twice a week now is absolutely unthinkable, and rightly so. So there has to be some compromises, but I still think within that, wherever you find your little bit of you time, I think is key. And I think that then goes further as to once you've got that balance throughout, I'd like to think that the pressures of life are just lifted that little bit, you know. And we'll all go through adversity and challenging times, but just to accept that as a parent, just to accept that when you embark as a parent in today's world, it's going to be absolutely challenging. It's going to be the hardest thing you will ever do.
Everything's engineered in a family to be focused on the family. But how do you then separate that, find time for yourself, Kelvin, Liz, and how do you also find time to be Kelvin and Liz pre-kids and just being 2 compatible human beings, adults that find time and find that level of enjoyment?
Yeah, I think it is important. For me, walking is my thing.
Is that your thing?
Just and I don't do it half as often as I would love to personally, but again, I'm willing to make that compromise because work and relationship with my wife and children as a dad. So there's all many things, feeding the pigs, feeding the sheep, whatever it is going on in my life. I have got a lot. I'm very, very active. I've got a lot going on. But when I can get those little pockets of me time, a good old walk is, and it doesn't have to be in the countryside. Yes, we live in the countryside and it's some beautiful scenery to walk around, but just walking around, you know, I was working in London recently, just walking down the South Bank for 20 minutes during my lunch hour was just that's just what I needed. It's just a time for me to just zone out and have my own thoughts, and everyone's got their own little things to go to. But for me, I think walking is and I think anyone, you know, if they can give it a go, is everyone will always find their thing. But for me, walking is, I get a lot from walking.
I've come from a career playing rugby here at the Stoop for 14 years and understand the correlation between physical activity and mental health. How do you, beyond just walking, and what messages would you have to other parents out there who are trying to make some time for themselves and mentally have a little bit of liberty and finding their own space?
It always pays dividends. If you've got a clear headspace, how will you find that clear headspace, whether it's through exercise, physically, or from whatever it might be, reading a book, listening to a podcast, doing yoga, whatever it might be, seeing your kids, cuddling with your kids, whatever. I think if you can find that mental clarity and that mental health, space where you're in a good headspace, then that's always key.
Do you think your mental health has suffered through being a dad and all the pressures that come with it?
I think I'd be the first to admit my mental health would have suffered over the years at times when things have been challenging, whether it's as a parent, with career, whatever it might be. And I think it'd be more worrying if it doesn't happen.
Yep.
It makes us stronger. That's how we adapt. We learn. We've got to go through some sort of adversity. So I don't shy away from that, from the little failings, from shortcomings, whatever it might be, because you learn from it. And
Because it's really important how we frame the conversation of mental health. Because if I asked anyone during their careers, doing whatever they do out there, has your career been plain sailing? They'd say, probably not. Physically, we've all had ailments, been ill, or whatever it might be. No one has this plain sailing track that they live upon.
Yeah.
And the same for your mental health. And it's fine to be able to talk about it and own it, but we need to try and remove that stigma and just totally understand and accept that it's never just going to be plain sailing, because that is just part and parcel of being life. But
I think it's reassuring when you hear somebody else has struggled or is struggling.
Makes you more likely to come out and say something.
Yeah, like for me, it's when they say like, what advice could you give? When I've heard that a dad for the first time, or certainly at the minute, a dad with twins, and he'll tell me about, it's tough. He'll tell me about all the problems, all the headaches, and I'm just like, I absolutely get it. It's so relatable, and it really resonates with me. I instantly feel better because I know somebody else is going through it. So I think once you know, and we all are, regardless of retired rugby player, of actor, whatever jobs or lifestyles we might lead, ultimately as human beings, the dynamic is the same. We all go through the same thing, and there's the relatability throughout. Once you learn that somebody else is going through or feeling what you're feeling, it's just, for me, it's a massive weight off my shoulder, because I feel like if someone else is going through it, then it just feels easier. And I'm going through it with somebody else. So yeah, talking about it, I think, is key. And it always just makes things that little bit easier, knowing that somebody else is getting the death stare off his wife when he's made the mistake of saying that he's tired. All those little things, I think, help.
It's not all doom and gloom being a parent. Of course, we're battling and talking about some really relatable and pertinent topics in regards to being a dad. But that also provides some of the best moments and memories. What would you say is some of the most rewarding memories that you've had with your kids?
We camped out for the first time ever. This was just before the twins, and as a family. And I guess what that suggests is moments like that. And we could have the exact same moment in bed on a Sunday morning when the six of us are just in bed. And it's just us, so there's for us, there's no real holiday, there's nothing materialistic, there's no big occasion. It's the doing nothing, just being together in the simplest of setting. When you're all there cuddled up, that for me would be my dream. When I think of a highlight, that's immediately what I go to and kind of what I focus on. It's just having everybody cuddled up and knowing that this is our little world, and we're a little team, and it's kind of building those relationships throughout, that we're all going to grow old together, and we feel like we're just at the beginning of this journey. And I'm sure that in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, we'll feel again that we're at the beginning of this journey. Yeah. It always feels like we've got the rest to go at. Yeah. So I think that's, again, it's just being present, and that feels like a highlight, even though I can't pinpoint a particular time.
Kelvin, thank you so much for that, for the insight as well as the honesty. But now we're going to tackle some taboos. We've got some well-researched questions that have come in from Bupa, as well as questions that I'm sure are asked around the globe daily. Quick fire, if we can rattle through these. The first one is, I don't feel like my baby needs me.
I felt like that at times. You've got two options. I think that night feeds would be that's the first thing that comes into my mind when you feel like you're useless. If Liz is feeding, what do I do? Yeah. Do I get some sleep and then get shouted at in the morning, or do I just wake up and feel like I'm doing the pointless thing, but it is helping, I guess, and just pass the baby over, at least be awake with her, and feel like those initial few months that I'm trying to be some sort of help, and at least show willingness to do the tough stuff with her, really.
Exactly. It's trying to find a role that actually helps and supports. Question number 2. I feel like a fraud. It's supposed to be the happiest time of my life, but I feel really down.
Well, I think baby blues is a thing. Yeah. I think if women can feel that, then there's no reason to suggest why men can't feel it as well. So, I guess it's understandable, because it's just such a change, lifestyle change. It's such a change emotionally. And it has quite a profound effect on you. And at times it probably feels, in this case, a little bit of a negative, and you just can't quite find your feet. So I just think embrace that, and don't be too hard on yourself, and just know that in the coming months things will turn around. And just always remember that you've been blessed with an absolute gift. So it might not feel like that at 3 o'clock in the morning when it's screaming, but it does get easier.
Yeah, it certainly does. I'd love to add to that by saying it's not actually meant to feel like anything.
Yeah.
I think storybooks and history has dictated that it is the best moment of your life. But it's meant to feel like how it actually is. And if that's your reality, there shouldn't be a pressure of some reference point of some family that you don't know or some made up story.
Yeah.
It is actually going to be hard because it's the biggest shift you'll ever find in your life. And if you are suffering and struggling, talk about it, but don't have the pressure of some outside perspectives to what your life is meant to feel like right now.
And most people, when you ask them, your parents, how are you getting on? Like, it's normal. 9 times out of 10, they always say, oh, it's like I said, it's tough. It's great, but it's tough.
Okay, question number 3. I don't know what I'm doing and I'm feeling anxious. What would you say?
I didn't know what I was doing, and I felt anxious. So hopefully that's something. I think we've all been in that position. All felt like that. As long as you're doing something, I think, you know, I don't think we're meant to just instinctively know every situation. Certain things I think will come more natural to us than maybe others, and that's only right. I think we're all different, but I think as long as you're just doing what feels right to you, and 9 times out of 10, I think that's going to be the right thing to do.
Everyone's blagging it. I did NCT class with Lucy before Phoenix. We had a birth plan that got ripped up out the window, and then we were blagging it.
Yeah.
I didn't have a clue. And then by the time you get home, for all the reading and research that goes into it and chatting to other parents, you are blagging it every single day because what is written on textbook does not always translate to real life because babies, they are very unpredictable. Question number 4, pertinent one. I miss my old life. This isn't what I thought it would be.
Yeah, it is. Again, I've been there. I thought, how do you think it'd be this hard? I still thought I could play golf twice a week. The reality, I think, to accept, you're fundamentally, there's going to be compromise.
Yes.
And then once you accept that and embrace that, then I think you can manage that and manage your expectations of what this new life is going to be like. And at times, you might be able to only focus on the shortcomings of what you're losing out on and how things are so much more difficult. Going to the supermarket is nowhere near as easy as it used to be before you had children. But that's fine, it's not meant to be.
Yeah.
And then what you get in return of those shortcomings, what feels like shortcomings, you get absolutely unrivaled moments of joy that nothing else will ever give you over. So I think that's the bit to focus on, and not just what you've lost out on, but just look at what you've gained out of this.
Spot on there. Kelvin, thank you so much for joining me at the Queen's Cafe.
Thank
you for sharing. And if you know someone who is struggling with their mental health, then head to the Mental Health Hub on the Bupa website.